this idea of like hard work that gets carried on that had been executed from ancestors, and so the generations down the line are a bit more set up already, like in a very favorable position financially to succeed. And it kind of makes me think of like privilege a lot, because when I think about stuff like gentrification or people with privilege or in a more privileged position in like the current society as it is right now, I think of this idea that they probably had this generational wealth.
This campaign to create awareness to generational wealth is brought to you by the Department of Neighborhood's Generational Wealth Initiative, the Washington Housing Finance Commission, and Rainier Avenue Radio World.
You probably have questions about COVID vaccines. Here are some answers about how they're being made.
How are COVID vaccines being produced faster?
Usually, vaccine testing and production are separate steps. But because of the pandemic, vaccines are being developed on parallel tracks. So both steps are happening just at the same time.
How are the vaccines being tested?
Right now, several different COVID vaccines are in testing. Each go through multiple clinical trials with up to thousands of volunteers.
How do vaccines get approved?
Not all COVID vaccine versions will make it to the final stages of testing and approval. Produced vaccines that do not pass clinical trials will be destroyed. But for those that do pass, a team of medical experts will examine test results and possible side effects. If the vaccine is effective and safe, it gets approved and gets to you. Go to covidvaccinewa.org to learn more. A message from the state of Washington.
If you or a family member are 55 or over and need nursing home level care, but want to keep living where you are, check out Providence Elder Place PACE. This program offers healthcare, housing, transportation, and recreational activities. There are no co-pays or deductibles, and it's covered through Medicare and Medicaid. Providence Elder Place PACE works to keep you healthy and in your home. Call 206-320-5325 or visit providence.org Elder Place. Providence.org Elder Place.
Well, there's that shattering glass that I love to hear. Hello there, world. Bettina Carey here, and we're live on Rainier Avenue Radio World, and we're going to help you to shatter glass ceilings right down to the floor, because that's where they belong. For those of you who are new to us, I'm your host and founder of We Empower You, an online community of like-minded people and a global empowerment movement designed for coaches and entrepreneurs. I'm actually hosting today a really amazing gentleman, John Webster. He is a best-selling author, professional keynote speaker, and publishing coach and marketing coach. John's mission is to help people worldwide overcome their fears, turn failure into success, and attain more time, money, freedom, health, and happiness by teaching them how to master their fate. And we're going to really be honing in on that word fate. For more than 30 years, John has lived on his own terms, enjoying the entrepreneurial life that he's created. Originally from Texas, he graduated from the Utah State University and received his master's degree at the University of Phoenix. He and his wife, Melissa, live in Arizona, and his new book reveals over 77 hacks to master your fate so that you can achieve your financial and life goals faster and easier than ever before. And there's no more perfect time than this time of year to be talking about mastering your fate right now. Welcome, John Webster. It's so great to have you here.
Hello, how are you?
I'm doing great. You know, we have just about 27 minutes here, and I know we're going to have you come back. I already know that just from knowing the content. So let's just put that right out there. But you have this book title that I find is very inspirational. Where did that come from for you?
So that book title is really interesting because I was originally my title was Generating Perpetual Wealth. And when I think of wealth, my mindset is not a lot of people think of monetary stuff. And so I didn't want it to come off as perceived as a money book, but I think of wealth in terms of health, happiness, relationships, knowledge, spirituality. So I think of wealth as an all-encompassing things. So then I started considering other titles, and I was on this road trip, cross-country road trip, and I happened to be, one of the songs that came on my playlist happened to be Believer by Imagine Dragons. And one of the parts of the lyrics of that is, I am the one at the sail, I'm the master of my sea. And then thought about it. I was like, oh, that's really interesting. And then that got me like thinking, and I got the idea of a mastering of your life and then mastering of your fate. And so that's how I came up with that. So I immediately, as we're on this road trip, driving on the interstate, I pull up and I'm like, the domain name has to be available or else I can't do this. And so I searched for the domain name. It was available and I bought it immediately. So that's how I came up with the title of my book.
Well, that said, what does it mean to master your fate? I know that word gets kicked around here and there. What do you think the word means?
So mastering your fate is, it's actually, it takes a whole different idea. So people think that when you are, that fate is something bad, and they think it's something that it's something bad that you can't control. But then on the flip side, there's also destiny, which is people perceive as something good, but they're actually quite similar. They both describe a future. And destiny could be described as your potential, what is a possible outcome. And fate is more of a future that is believed to be inevitable, something that is completely outside of your control. So then I realized, it's like, well, you can either be a slave that is compelled to live a life that has already been decided for you, or you can choose to master your fate and master your life. You can control your choices. You can control the things that have the impact on your circumstances and even the people in your life. So then you have left with two choices. You can either be a slave to fate, or you can be a master of the fate.
I love that distinction of between fate versus destiny, and whether it's inevitable or not, that you are in control of your life, right? I mean,
right.
We want to think that we're in control of our life. You have 7 steps that you dial into, and you have at our summit. I don't think we're going to get to all 7 of them. Can you talk specifically about one, and that is the compounding of the step?
So yeah, and well, these are the top 7. I mean, I talk about a lot of them throughout my book, probably over 100. Because I've actually researched the life and character of some of the richest, the wealthiest, the most successful people in the world, the greatest athletes, most respected people who have basically influenced millions of people. And there's certain traits that are very common among all of them. And that's what my book contains. And at the summit, I discussed my top 7 of what I believe to be the top 7. And you mentioned compounding. And in regards to compounding, many people relate compounding to money. And, you get compound interest, for example. But I take it a step further, and I relate it to life. There's things that you can do to compound the effects in your life. So in the world of finance, however, a compounding cycle is the time that it takes for your investment, gaining interest, for that investment to double. So people invest in the stocks and the mutual funds, and you're typically getting, because the markets go up and down, you're typically getting about 3 to 5 compounding cycles in your lifetime. So if you're young and you start out at 18 and you're investing, you could probably get about 5. But most people have about 3 to 5 compounding cycles in the stock market. Now, the goal is to have as many compounding cycles as possible. And the only way to do that is through leverage. And so you have to be able to leverage other people's assets. So for example, if I was in the stock market, you can borrow money. You're not really supposed to, but you can borrow money. So let's say I go to a friend, he's very wealthy, and I say, listen, I know that this stock is going to be doing really good. Can I borrow $1 million? Now I've leveraged that and get the interest on that. So you can leverage other people's assets, or you can leverage other people's times, and that's also an asset. But everything that you want in life is either going to be paid for through time, or it's going to be paid for with money. So money can always be replaced, but time you can never get back. And so going back to those compounding cycles I talked about, is that you can spend maybe 20 years of your life trying to figure out how to do something on your own, or you can simply pay a mentor or an expert maybe $20,000, and you work with them, and they can help you achieve that result in maybe 3 to 6 months. So there's really important thing that you have there is with that compounding cycle is that leverage. So you want to be able to leverage other people's assets, other people's time, other people's resources. And that's how you are able to compound faster and quicker than otherwise.
And I imagine that this compounding effect is not just in the interest of time and money, but it could also be applied from a spiritual place or an energy place, attracting opportunities through just being in a state, perhaps.
Right. So it is a, you can, in simplest terms, and it's all mathematical is what it is. If you took, and let's suppose that every day you are becoming 1% better. It doesn't sound like a whole lot, but that 1% better every day is actually, by the end of the year, you are 37 times better than you were at the start of the year. Whereas on the flip side, if you become 1% worse every day, at the end of that year, you're down to literally 1/100th of what you were at the beginning of the year.
Now let's apply
1%,
that to a New Year's resolution that says, I want to lose 30 pounds. There's a compounding effect, right? Just taking one step at a time.
And it doesn't happen overnight. A lot of people,
right.
they have those resolutions. They want to achieve a goal, and they want to achieve it now. And the fact is, you didn't get to where you are in life in a week or two. So you can't expect that to reverse whatever negativity that you have. You can't expect it to reverse that in a week or two. It takes time and effort. You know, you can't just go to the gym and say, okay, I'm going to exercise for 5 hours today and I'm done for the month. You have to have that.
Wouldn't that be sweet?
Yeah, you have to have that consistency. But it's like if you're looking to lose 30 pounds, if you're losing 1 to 2 pounds a week, you're actually doing a lot better than most people. So you didn't gain 30 pounds in a month. Well, hopefully you didn't. But most people, when they gain weight, they only gaining about maybe 1 or 2 pounds a week. And so to lose weight, it's going to be the reverse of that. So, but the goal is to be just a little bit better every single day. It doesn't take a lot. It's just that slight edge, just a little bit better every single day, and that compounds.
That's great. And, you know, one of the other hacks that you brought up is focus. And that is the other F word in life that I learned at a very young age, thankfully. I have attention deficit disorder in terms of like I'm constantly busy doing something or another. And as an adult, I've learned to get paid for it. But at the end of the day, if I don't focus on things, I don't get stuff done, right? I have to be focused at each and every step of the way. So tell us a little bit of a story related to focus.
So focus involves a consistent way or doing something, a consistent thinking. You have to have extreme clarity about your desired results relative to each step of the way, each step throughout the whole process. The British Navy they typically they were known as the supreme. They held supremacy over the seas from the 18th to the early of 20th centuries. And so they had the strongest navy in the world. And they did this in part is because they were, although that they were more organized than their competitors, but they also used a method of focus, which is they call crossing the T or capping the T, as it's called. So in naval warfare, this crossing the T or the capping of the T is a naval warfare tactic in which each line of the enemy ships comes in and they basically make a T with their ships. So as the enemy ships are coming in, they can use all of their firepower from all of their ships to fire and focus on one ship at a time. So this allows them to bring all of their guns to that front ship while, very minimizing the fire from the enemy. So Lord Nelson, which is a British admiral in the Battle of Trafalgar in the year 1805, he actually took on a line of 33 Spanish and French ships. In the British, they had 27. And using this tactic of crossing the T, he fired broadside, focused on each enemy ship one at a time as the next one appeared in line. The end result was the British, they lost 0 ships, while the French and the Spanish, they lost 22 of their 33 ships. So when you are intensifying your focus, you're summoning all of your efforts and forces to deal with only one issue at a time, and you get that results. Same thing, if I go outside, it's a bright sunny day, and I take an old dried out piece of wood and I set it outside. I'm like, okay, sun, do your thing, catch this on fire. It's not going to do much. But if I can take a magnifying glass and I focus that energy of that light onto that wood, then that wood heats up and it starts to catch on fire. So what would take in nature maybe 30, 50 years of that sun beating down on that dry wood to catch on fire, I could do in a matter of minutes with using focus.
I love it. I love it. And of course, then another one that you mentioned at the summit was gratitude and how that plays an instrumental role in getting what you want in life, right?
Mm-hmm. So gratitude is vitally important. And the thing is, in life, a lot of people don't realize this, and they might call me out saying, "Oh, that's not true." But the fact is, you are where you are in life because of everything that you've done and everything that you thought about. And the fact is, life gives you what you put into it. So if you are lacking gratitude, life is not going to give you more stuff because you're not grateful for what you already have. If you're putting out the vibrations that, hey, I'm so grateful for this, and I'm so happy that I have this, and I'm so happy for that, then those vibrations get transmitted, and the universe, God, or whatever you want to call the great power there, gives you more of that. Same thing. If I were to give you a gift, let's say it's Christmas just passed. I give you a gift for Christmas and you open it up and you're like, and you toss it to the side. What's the likelihood that next Christmas I'm going to give you a gift? It's not going to happen because you weren't grateful for the gift that I gave you. So your reality is actually what you think about most of the time. And so you've got to be thinking of that gratitude. Growing up, the only kind of car that my dad would drive was Lincoln Town Cars. And it's more of a luxury type of car. But when I was a child, we used to play car games driving around, similar to, when you spot a beetle bug. It's like, it's like big thing. It's like, oh, there's a beetle bug. But we used Lincolns. So we'd drive around and try to spot the Lincoln cars. And as you play that game, you're constantly looking for that Lincoln. and your mind gets into that mode to do that. So even when you're not playing it and you're just going around normally, you start like, oh, there's a Lincoln. Oh, there's a Lincoln. Oh, there's a Lincoln. And you're noticing Lincolns everywhere. And it's not a super common car, but your mind thinks that it is because that is what you're looking for. And again, your reality is what you think about most of the time. So when you start thinking about things that you're grateful for, you're putting out and transmitting vibrations of love and appreciation. And in turn, more things come into your life for you to be grateful for. So, but here's a twist
I
of
totally relate to that.
what was that?
I said I totally relate to that.
Yeah, but here's a
Being
twist,
in a
and the way that I coach my clients is that you should have not only things gratitude that you're grateful for, but that you should have gratitude for the things that you want in your life, as if those things have already happened, as if you have already achieved what you want, because then you're more likely to be able to attain that, because you have that gratitude, and now the universe rewards you by having gratitude for it. So
I definitely practice that. And I'm a firm believer of write it down, make it happen, act as if it's so. The be, do, and have formula you also mentioned at the summit. And I know we're going to run out of time here. So before we do that, I want to make sure that folks know how to get a hold of you. We have listeners and folks that are watching. So give us how folks can get a hold of you.
So probably the best way to get a hold of me, you can go to my website, masteringyourfate.com. That's where my book is. But you can contact me via my phone number. Send me a text message. I'd be glad to, schedule a time to set up and talk with you. My phone number is 480-500-8500. Again, that's 480-500-8500. And just send me a text message. It's very rarely am I able to take a call immediately, so a text message is the easiest way there. Or you can go to my website, and it has information about my book and contact information there.
That's great. Now, your book is a pretty thick book covering a wide variety of topics. What can people expect from it? Just give us an overview.
So I expand on the principles that have been taught by Thomas Edison, by Albert Einstein, Napoleon Hill, Earl Nightingale. Basically that everything is energy. In all the circumstances, events, and people that are in your life, it's all connected through a same thread of time. And that your thoughts are energy, and then what you think about most of the time actually dictates your reality. So it all starts with getting the mindset right. That's the first section of my book. Then taking the necessary action steps, that's section 2, and then having the life that you want, that's section 3, leaving a legacy. So that way you can be, do, and have everything that you want in life, but there is a fourth element, and that is giving. So we come into this life with nothing, and we leave with nothing. And so the only thing that is left behind is our impact on the world and what we gave to the world that matters most. And life is a journey, and my book takes you through an experience so that you can make a radical, positive transformation in your life.
I love that. And your book is also available in audio. So if you're not a thick book reader like myself, then the audio book is definitely the way to go. You've helped hundreds, if not thousands of people. What is your coaching style, would you say?
So I would say I take a comprehensive approach to coaching, to helping people to live their best life, whatever that may be for them, whether that's publishing a book, doing online marketing, growing their business, whatever it takes for them to achieve the outcome that they're looking for. In one of my coaching programs, I use book publishing as the vehicle to achieve a specific outcome for a very niche market there. That it is. So that's my coaching style. John F. Kennedy, he once said that children are the living messages that we send to a time that we will not see. And in essence, you know, as a book publishing coach, my desire is to get people to write a book. I mean, you can use that as a vehicle for different types of marketing methods, but in the end, you want something that you can leave behind, something that you can leave for posterity, something that your great grandchildren can have and say, this is the person that impacted the world. So that's the way I coach. I want people to be successful, to be able to be an impact into the world. So
fantastic. You know, I couldn't help but notice that the commercial just before we started was about generational wealth, right? So the fact that we're talking about some of the elements of what it takes to create wealth, abundance, you know, the mindset, the coaching, of course, is definitely an asset that you can leverage to move your life forward. So when it comes to your coaching practice, how do folks engage with you again on that front?
So the best thing to do is send me a text message. And, you know, I have several different types of coaching programs. There's one that I'm putting together right now that is specifically designed for speakers. But the best way to do is just contact me. Phone number is 480-500-8500. Again, that's 480-500-8500. Send me a text and your time zone, and we can schedule a time for a phone call or a Zoom meeting or whatever works best for you.
That's great. Well, I have one final question we have a few moments for, and that is, what motivated you to write the book in the first place? Because this is a topic that I certainly have not heard about, people writing so much about fate and the distinction between fate and destiny, and
Right.
Over 100 hacks now that you've put into the book.
So my father had passed away about 2 years ago. And that really became a catalyst shift in my life. And before that, I had been, you know, trying to work together for several years of putting a book together. But at that time, when my father passed away, I really started to question my own belief patterns of how everything in the world really fits together. The physical world, the spiritual realm, how we look at the world, how we interpret truth. And so that's when I really catalyst started shifting. Like, I've got to get something concrete and something done. Since my father, with his professional sales career, he typically worked Monday through Saturday, early in the morning until late at night, after I had gone to bed. And so one of the most cherished times that I had with him wasn't when I was younger, but it was actually when I moved back, because I grew up in Houston and moved back to Houston. He was selling advertising, business to business advertising. And so I decided, you know, it's like, hey, you know what, let me help you. Let me work with you here. And so every day for several months, I would spend, you know, the entire day with him, you know, as we went from business to business, and, you know, had lunch with him, and we're talking and all this stuff. And he'd tell me all these stories. And he thought he was teaching me the business of business to business advertising. But my purpose was not necessarily to earn the money with it, but it was the cherished quality time that I had with my father, to hear his stories of the past, to learn from him, to connect with him in a way that I was never able to do as a child. And my father had always said that he was going to write a book. He's like, yes, I'm going to write a book, and this is going to be great, and I'm going to tell all my stories and things like that, but he never did. And my mentor and coach, Patrick Snow, he often quotes Abraham Lincoln, and Abraham Lincoln says that the written page is the only way that the dead can teach the unborn. So I thought about that, and I'm thinking, it's like, how great it would have been if my father actually written a book that I could give that to my children and my grandchildren to say, this is who he was. But I don't have that. And so that was really my motivating factor to really get my book done, so that way I have something that I could pass on to future generations.
Well, that is quite the story. And I'm sorry about your father's passing, of course, but what the motivation it has been for you to get this book done in record time. mean, it's not every day when someone just says, I'm going to write a book and I'm going to get it done. So kudos to you for getting it done. And thank you so much for today's interview. We're going to definitely have to have you back because you've got over 100 hacks that folks could definitely benefit from.
Thank you.
All right. So our next show coming up is the Reggae Hour, episode 137. Thanks everyone for listening and watching. And please leave us comments. I read them. And of course, I take all of your feedback very seriously. Join us each and every Thursday at 1:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time on Rainier Avenue Radio.world. We'll see you next week. Bye for now.